I just finished a book on the way to this short term rental that I can't wait to tell you about. It's the book Slow Productivity by Cal Newport, and I want to talk about how it applies to writers. Hello! If you are just finding the channel, my name is Dr. Denis'Thomas. That's Denise without an E on the end. And I am a college professor, a writer, a podcaster. And today I want to talk about someone who also does all of those things. If, like me, you like to read on the topic of productivity, then you're already really familiar with the name Cal Newport. He's the best-selling author of 7 books, including Digital Minimalism, Deep Work, and now the book Slow Productivity. He also is a college professor with a PhD from MIT. And you can find his podcast right here on YouTube if you're interested in seeing his work for yourself. And oh, yeah, he published his first book before he graduated from his undergraduate and before he turned 21. He's a bit of a wonder, but he knows something about productivity and also being a busy professional. Well, this book is also a bit of an anomaly in that it only has 5 chapters. The meat of the book is in long form chapters, not the typical short form, quick chapters that a lot of writing is done in these days. In the book, Slow Productivity, he has 3 basic points. The first one is to do less. The second one is to work at a natural pace. And the third one is to be obsessed with quality. Well, how does that apply to being productive in writing? Here on this channel, I'm always saying that this is a place for busy people writing in the margins of their lives. And I think Cal Newport knows a little something about that now. In his younger years, he may have been able to write more intensely and juggle more things, but now he also is living in this season of life of lots of commitments and lots of responsibilities. He has a family, he has a full-time job, he has passions and interests that keep him busy, and he writes prolifically. I think as writers, we can learn something from him. So what I want to do now is I want to combine what I have been saying on this channel about the right method and what he is advocating for slow productivity. While I intend this channel to be motivational to anyone who wants to write a book, ultimately, I really want to encourage you to write as many books as you want. If you want to be a prolific writer, you can learn how to do that here. So let me combine the right method with what Cal Newport says about slow productivity. So the first point, do less. Well, that is the backbone of the right method. I am always saying write 500 words a day, not 1,000 words, not 1,500 words, not 2,000 words, not the 1,667 words of NaNoWriMo, but only 500 words. And if that seems like it is too much, then back it down to 250 or even 100 words a day. That is simply this do less concept. It's the idea that we don't have to do it all at once and we don't have to do all the things. Now, in this section of the book, he is really talking about like reducing the things on your plate, really paring it down to the things that matter. I'm guessing that if you are here, writing a book is something that matters to you. And if it's going to be something that you're going to dedicate time to do, how can you simplify the other things in your life? Maybe just for this busy season. So if you have a full-time job and community commitments and family responsibilities, are there some of those that you can pull back on for the next year, 2 years, 3 years to make time for writing what matters to you? Now, I'm not encouraging you to pare back on your family, but I wonder if for a season, some of the community responsibilities could be pared back. Is it possible to work a little less? I mean, 2.5 hours less at work would be 30 minutes a day of writing. His next point is to work at a natural pace. One of the things in this section that I really appreciated was honoring the seasons of your life. That there may be seasons that are really productive, and then there are slow seasons where seemingly you're not doing much of anything. I think that section resonated with me because I feel that in my writing a lot. There are times where I can't write fast enough to contain my ideas. And there are times in my writing life where I just need to meander. I do a lot more journaling during that time, and I'm thinking about things, but I'm not actually putting things into a manuscript. That is part of the right method as well. I encourage you to write 500 words a day, but it doesn't matter if that 500 words is in a manuscript or in a journal that is never published. The point is to have you in that daily habit of writing so that as inspiration strikes and as the creative ideas come, you are already prepared and in place to capture those ideas and work on them. But in those seasons that need to be slower, maybe because of other things going on in your life, I love the idea of just honoring that. So, with the right method, I would encourage you to journal in those seasons. And it may be months on end. Maybe you're not working on a manuscript for 6 months of the year, but in the other 6 months, maybe you're incredibly productive. Those two things go together. It's the balance that we need as writers. There are times where we lean into the intensity of writing, and there are times where we lean back into thinking time and percolating. And I think that when I talk about not being a perfectionist about your writing, that also falls in this category of working at a natural pace. We just do what we do. We don't force it. We just show up and write, and then we are ready to write as many books as we want. But the pace that we write them isn't always steady year after year. And that's fine. I mean, it works for best-selling author Cal Newport, and I think it works for you too. The last point that he makes in the book is to obsess over quality. Now, I'm thinking he's gotten a little bit of pushback on this point, as people say sometimes done is better than perfect, and it is. But his point is that instead of churning out a lot of mediocre stuff, what if you really worked on making it quality writing? What if you turned in a manuscript to your publisher that was the best that you could do right now in this season of life? Maybe it's not the best that can be done, and maybe it's not the best that you can do next year, but maybe for today, it's the best that you can do. But what if you did that instead of just turning in the manuscript? What if in today's writing, you really slowed down and worked on crafting your words instead of just churning out words to get 500 words? Now, I think there's a time and a place for both. I think sometimes we just get the job done, and that for those of us who may have perfectionist tendencies, it's really helpful to reel those back a little bit and recognize that we don't have to be perfect to submit our manuscripts, that it doesn't have to be absolutely the best thing ever in order to be published. But again, we need balance. The balancing side of that is what if we really did strive to make it as good as we can? What if in our limited margins of life, we worked on quality over quantity? Would that change your writing life? Well, if you haven't yet read the book Slow Productivity, I would highly recommend it. I think all writers should read books like this. I mean, he is one of us. He is a writer just like we are. He is a busy parent just like we are. He is a busy professional just like we are. And yet, he is publishing quality books. Ultimately, isn't that the goal? Don't we also want to publish quality books? I think by reading the book Slow Productivity, it will help you to do just that. Hey, if you're an avid book reader like I am, you might want to watch this video next for a list of book recommendations, some of my favorite books that I read in the first half of this year.